every year, every week, the reviews get more and more unique.
Every game is unique.
That's true. Every game is unique, and we'll get your thoughts on it very shortly. Everyone's starting to recognise your voice now. Wait for a few Saners to tune in. We're doing it live on the way home from the Saints TV disco, so we'll wait for a few Saners to jump on board and comment your thoughts as usual. Although I can't. There we go. Griffin, g'day mate. Hey Tyler, g'day mate. Thanks for tuning in, even if it's for a second. It always counts. Yeah, Ben, absolutely. Windhager, wow. That's a key topic of the game. That's probably my highlight of the game, actually. But I'd love to see who your man of the match was. Comment your man of the match, Saners. What you liked the most about the game, although I know there was a lot of factors of the game that probably we all could understand need a lot more work. But at the end of the day, we did get the job done. Albeit against pretty much the bottom side, equal bottom side in the AFL. Hey Kath, thanks for tuning in. Up the Saners, season is alive. That's from Harrison. Good to see some positivity. I know everyone was a bit nervous, particularly early in the game where we kept kicking goals, but they just kept pulling us back and hitting the front, and it just kind of had that feeling about it that we had to really work for our goals and we weren't kicking easy goals, whereas they were. But I think the maturity of the side, I'd like to think, kind of got the job done. Although the injuries, Gresh's knee, Webster, I think, hurt his shoulder, but he came back on, which was great. There was a lot of things that need to be worked on, but I think at this pointy end of the season, I think it's kind of important to just realise that we need to get the 4 points, and we're 9th on the ladder, thanks to the Bulldogs, by the way, for winning. That stuffed us up completely. We would have been in the 8 if they had lost last night, which they were expected to do. But that just goes to show that if you really want to make finals, you need to be winning the games put in front of you, and whether that's against West Coast or Hawthorn next week or Geelong the week after, when it's going to be really difficult, we need to be able to bring our best. And tonight we didn't bring our best, I wouldn't have thought. But certain players showed form, and that's kind of important for us at this end of the season. Butler kicked 5, which was great. Jack still had 40 and I think 11 tackles, which was immense. So that was his best game back since being back from his injury. Marshall, I think, had over 50 hit-outs as the lone ruckman. Sinclair, Crouch stood up, and I haven't mentioned him yet in great detail, but Marcus Windhager, I think he had over 23 or 24 disposals, set up multiple goals, had 5 or 6 tackles, was clean with the footy, in the wet, shit ground, off the back of having soccer matches there played Thursday and Friday nights, and then raining all weekend. For him to play the way he played and pick the ball up off the deck as if it was a dry weather game was next level. So I think we've got a very special player there in Marcus Windhager. Newman's asking if I'm driving. Mate, I am not driving. My girlfriend is driving. I would not be that irresponsible of me. So I've just had a few wines at the Bentley Social, our new sponsor of the Saints TV podcast. So great to have them on board. A lot of Saners turned out, which was great. Great atmosphere, a lot of chanting, a lot of moans when things didn't go our way, thanks to the Saners or the umpires or whatever it was. And at the end, we were all singing the song, which is what we want to do when we get to the Bentley Social and watch Saints footy. So great atmosphere, and can't wait to get there in a couple of weeks' time. But in regards to this game, I thought we started pretty well, kicked the first 2 goals of the game, but then we let West Coast in, and Joycey mentioned it, and I agree, and we've talked about this multiple times this year. We just seemed a bit overcoached. We seemed to be overthinking easy situations. When there's just an easy kick to go to, we just stuff it up with 5 handballs that go nowhere, or we handball to someone that's under pressure and it's just not going to work. And that's the sort of stuff that I think we need to... and by we, I mean the players and the coaches, especially the coaches, they need to stop coaching the players to play a certain way so strictly. the balance of play is 70% instinct, 30% tactics and game plan. That's to me how I think the best teams play. The worst teams, the opposite. It's 70%. You need to do this, you need to do that, you need to play that way, you need to play that way. And then 30% instinct and filling in the gaps. That is not good enough. That doesn't allow flexibility in the flow of the game, because when the opposition do something against what you've been told all week to do, then you're a deer in the headlights and you don't know what to do, because you're like, but the coach has told me to do this, but the coach has told me to do that. And you just keep doing that, whether it works or not. And then us as supporters are like, why do we keep playing that same way? It's because the instruction is there. So there were a lot of patches in the first and the second quarter in particular. First and the third. Second was great. We kicked 7 goals, and that is an example of us playing on instinct, playing on our own terms, playing Saints footy. That, if you ever want to watch Saints footy, that's how you play it. The third term was a stalemate. West Coast had a lot of inside 50s, and I think the third term was a testament to the backline. I think despite our bad form overall in the last 4 weeks, in terms of kicking goals, winning games, all of the above, I think the backline's been consistent. The backline's been holding up. They've been doing the job. They've been supporting the rest of the team and keeping us in games a lot longer than we probably deserve to be in. And they did that in the third term. And if they hadn't have done that, if Sharman hadn't have done what he did, Battle, Wilkie standing up in the absence of Dukes, we could have lost this game. But we always held West Coast at arm's length. Anytime they looked like they had a bit of a sniff, anytime they looked like that they were going to hit the front again or take the game, got a few things, still moving house. There's a few bowls and pans and stuff falling around, so just mind those. But anytime they looked like they were going to threaten, we kind of just stabilised. And it wasn't by kicking goals, it was just by marking the ball in the back line, chipping it around, slowing the tempo of the game down. And then I really did enjoy the fact that we could finish the game off the way we did and kick goals late and kind of get a bit more of a buffer on the scoreboard. And, for Dan Butler to kick 5 goals, I thought that was by far... Even 1 or 2 goals in, you could tell Dan Butler was up for the fight. He was chasing, he was tackling, he was pushing up the ground. He was doing a lot of things that he's not done since 2020. And then, funnily enough, he gets the reward on the scoreboard with that hard work. He gets the reward and kicks 5 goals. And Max King, frustrating night for him. I thought the Barras played a really good game on him. And Max King still has a lot to learn in terms of the way he needs to lead to the footy, and he needs to actually learn to lead to the footy first and not wait and jump from third man behind, because it's too easy for defenders to man up on him at that point. And then in terms of the midfield, I thought we handled it really well. I think the fact that they didn't have Nat Nui was a big advantage, and Rowan Marshall took full advantage of that. He had a lot of hit outs. I'm not sure what the clearance count was in the end, but it felt like we did get a lot of momentum out of the middle. Seb Ross, not his best game, but he still got a lot of clean clearances, and obviously Windhager, Crouch, Gresham, fingers crossed his knee's not too bad. Could be season ending, but we'll see on Monday whether it is. And then the back line again, I thought stood up really well. We only conceded, I think, the 9 or 10 goals for the day. And that's a really good performance. That's a tick in my book for the back line. Anytime you concede less than 10 or 11 goals, that gives you a very good chance of winning the game, and we did it. So I think we could look into it deeper and really be nitpicky about certain things, but I think at this point in the season, if this was round 2 or 3, I'd be a bit more of a critique on the team. But the fact that we're 9th, we just need to get wins on the board. We need to get into the 8 and then see what happens, because it's very unpredictable when you make finals. It's just important. And we've got Hawthorn next week. They're in good form. We'll see what happens and go from there. But I'll just scroll all the way to the top. We'll go through some of these comments and then we'll wrap it up. But yeah, thanks again, everyone, for tuning in. Really support it. And for everyone turning out to the Bentley Social for the Saints TV Disco. The 3rd edition of the Saints TV Disco was amazing. And just an FYI that we will have a 4th edition for the Geelong game, I think in round 21 or 22. So keep an eye out for that and dates and times, and hopefully you can get along and join the disco. Matt says it's pleasing for now. It is pleasing for now until this time next week, but hopefully this time next week we're talking about a second win in a row. So pleasing for now until the next win, hopefully in a week's time. Jason says, thank God for that. Yeah, I was already kind of half my mind was like prepping for a win, and then the other half was like, what do I talk about if we lose? What do I post during the week if we lose? It'd be a very long week indeed if we had a loss, but we didn't. We got the job done, not playing our best, but still doing enough to get the chocolates, and that to me is very, very important this time of year. Marcus says, Saints crowd here in WA were awesome. First win I've seen live. Mate, it's the first win we've had in Perth against West Coast since 2010, since I graduated from high school. That's how long it's been. So good to get the win. I think it's easy to say that West Coast are a bottom team, but they've got a lot of their gun players back. They've had a pretty good run of it the last 5 or 6 weeks, in terms of wins and losses. And their forwards always cause us problems, Darling, Kennedy, and they did today, but I thought we managed it pretty well, and in the end kind of just worked them out of the game, outworked them. And Joycey did make a very good point late in the game that a lot of the Guernseys of the Saints players were covered in mud, and the West Coast players, a lot of them were clean, so I think we worked a lot harder than them, and that kind of wore them down the longer the game went. Up the Saints, season live. Howdy Jakey, that's from Adam. G'day mate. And yeah, obviously, I think it goes without saying that a lot of Saints fans and maybe non-Saints fans that tune in might be like, don't get carried away, it was only West Coast, but we're not getting carried away. We know we're 9th. We know we probably deserve to be 9th at the moment with the way we've been playing. But I think a win's a win. 4 points is 4 points. 4 points against West Coast is the same 4 points that you take against Melbourne or Geelong or any of the top teams you beat. So you got to get them done, and we did it, and that just gives us an opportunity still to continue our season and not give up on the year. If we had a loss today, it would have been a big problem, but it just keeps our season alive for another week. Whether that's good or bad for our mental health, who knows, but it's good to just go to round 20 and actually have a season that's alive and a chance for finals at this point in the year, because usually at this point in the year we're always thinking about off-season and trades and not making finals, so it's good to have that sort of excitement about it. We've got Michael says Jess needs to take it easy over those speed bumps. Any response to Michael's critique on your driving?
No critique.
I'll tell you, she's a very good driver. That's why I put my life in her hands right now. And
It's not me, it's the
blame the speed bumps. Some of them are just too big, honestly. It's all their fault. Ben says Steele, Crouch, Windy, big in the guts, and Marshall did a great job solo as well. Yeah, Marshall, no surprise. He's always played really well on his own without Paddy, and some of his best games this year has been as the lone ruckman, so no surprise there that Marshall took this game by the scruff of the neck and had the game that he did. That play would not get us a win against the Cats. That's from Fletcher. No, it wouldn't, but we won't play in the Cats, so it's irrelevant. We'll see how we go against the Cats. Just because we played this way against West Coast doesn't mean we play that way against the Cats. We've already beaten the Cats already this year, so form is good against them. I think confidence would be good against them. And I think our boys always love the challenge. I feel like we always struggle against the lesser teams. No disrespect to them, but I think we always play to their level. But against the top teams, we have to climb to their level, and sometimes we can get there. And that's proven when we've played Richmond, we've played Geelong, we've played Carlton, we've played Fremantle in Perth. We're lifted in those games. But against the West Coast, the Essendons, these sort of teams, we've struggled lately. So I think we'll be fine against the Cats, hopefully. Griffin says, love it when Butler gets a little bit more selfish. Yeah, it kind of looked like he kind of just said, stuff this, the season's been shit, I'm putting this on my shoulders, I'm taking the team forward, and I'm going to kick 3 or 4 goals, maybe 5, and get the win. And it's the first time this year that you've kind of just felt like Butler's been on. even when he was getting tackled, he was roving footies really fast off the deck, getting tackled, but he wasn't just getting pinned. He was getting the ball out quick. But that shows me speed of mind, that he's getting tackled, but he's quickly looking at where the ball's going. He's not just getting tackled and throwing it out. He was switched on from the start, and that carried through the entire game. All 4 quarters, everything Butler did was spot on for the team. And at the end, he got the selfish kind of accolades. He kicked those goals out the back, which he deserves. And when we're at our best, we know that Butler kicks goals out the back like that. Windy played a great game. That's from Helen. Radley says, I wish Sharman played forward. They were crowding Maxi. Yeah, I agree with that, but Sharman was actually pretty good in the back line. He nearly took a massive specky. His kicking was great out of the back line, and that's something we really need. We lack that a lot. And he seemed to get a lot of confidence. He was leading to the footy a lot more, and I think he's starting to understand the back line. Whether this is going to be a permanent thing when Dukes comes back, I'm not sure. But the fact that we've got Sharman that can play forward, and we know that he can now play back, I think that's really good flexibility, whether we need him back or forward, depending on how the game goes. If the game's going our way, chuck him forward is another headache, but if it's not, you can put him back and he can support the rest of the boys. This one is from Nicholas. G'day, Jakey. Appropriate for the club and for you. I thought we were out, but then we pull ourselves back in. Yeah, every time we write off the season, we always pull out a performance like this. We did this against Carlton. We won, and before that we kind of thought season's done. But this time, same things happened. We kind of wrote the season off before the game and got the job done. And now, funnily enough, we're percentage out of the 8. So bring on the rest of the year. Rebecca says Steele and Windhager were all class. Still some question marks over some, unfortunately. Yeah, I agree with that. And I had question marks on players like Mason Wood during the week. But again, he had over 20 disposals, I think. Kicked an important goal, I think, in the last quarter. About 4 or 5 tackles. That's undroppable. That's another solid performance. And I think the fact that, Billings going down pretty early in the game meant that Mason Wood really needed to stand up on that other wing, because obviously we didn't have that support, and I think Brad Hill might have pushed up. And in hindsight, you probably played Nasai Wangan Malira in that position on the wing, but we didn't know that Billings was going to get injured so early in the game. But glad that didn't affect us, and we kind of got on with the job. Windhager's going to be a star. That's from Chantel. Ian says, you got a smile on your face at last. We need one more player. Mitch Owens can kick goals. I agree, but unfortunately he's just kind of been down with injuries the last couple of weeks. Obviously he's had that serious concussion, and that's not easy to come back from. So hopefully he's back playing at VFL level quickly, and then he can get back into the first and play with his mates Nasaya and Windhager, because both of them, all 3 of them, are going to be very, very good players for us. No, I'm not driving. Everyone keeps asking me if I'm driving. Here's proof. Look, Jess is driving with her scarf. Go the Saints, say it.
Go the Saints.
No.
What? Am I allowed to say it now?
You can if you want.
I already said it.
We'll go a couple more questions, and then we'll wrap it up. Beth is asking, rumours about Ben Long out of contract and out of favour. Please say it ain't so. I haven't heard anything like that. I'd like to think he can stick around, because you saw the difference when he came onto the ground. He really did lift the team. He's got that energy, he's got that sort of vibe about him. He smashes blokes, and at one point he had more tackles than possessions, and he was equal on tackles with Steele. So I don't know what he finished with, but at one point in the game he was the number 1 tackler on the ground, and he came on, after the first term. What else we got? Jamie says, why do we continue to bomb Long into our forward line? It's so frustrating week after week. I'm not complaining, because a win is a win. I get what you're saying, mate. It's a win. A win is a win, but you want to play a bit better against the better teams. And I think it's got to be instructional. I think the boys, they're fit enough to be leading to it, but a lot of them just don't lead to it. So I think we definitely need a forward coach. I know Brendan Lade, I think, is the forward coach, but Lade was a resting forward. He was mainly a ruckman. I just feel like a dedicated forward coach would be a great help. I'm surprised Ruffy's not that guy. But we need someone like a Dermot Brereton to come in and help Maxine, help these guys understand forward craft, because I think that's the one thing that just lets us down. And I hate to think of how good we could be if our forward line was actually clicking, because our midfield's alright, our backline's solid, doesn't concede big scores most weeks, and then you've got the forward line that just seems to let kind of the whole flow down. Patton for trade bait, I doubt that, Emmett. I thought Ben Patton, that was his best game for the year so far. I thought he was great, so yeah, hopefully he can stick around for a while yet. Yeah, Windhager definitely has got to be the rising star of this round. I think he finished with over 23 disposals. That is his best game of the year. And he was so clean with the footy every time he got it. Yeah, and it was a wet weather type game because the ground was so shit. It was so wet and dewy and muddy. And everyone else was slipping over. But Windy, every time he got it, he just used it really well and put the ball in a dangerous position. Dan Hanbury could be in next week. That's from Dave. Hannah's in next week. That's a handy one. You lose Gresh, you bring in Hannah's against Hawthorn, and that wouldn't be too bad. And I thought Lineup was actually pretty good as well. That's from Dan. Hope Lineup stays in for the rest of the season. Just not as a second ruck. Yeah, he was good in the back line, and he just does the basics really well. You know, he's not a fancy player, but he just doesn't stuff up as much as other players, and sometimes that's all you need. In important games, you just need players that do the basics right. Yeah, I might wrap it up there. Saina's nearly getting home, so I'll do the player ratings later, and that'll be up as well. I appreciate all of you for watching. Hopefully, the channel will be up and running next week. We've had a big week of moving, so the channel's been kind of off while that's been happening, but the new setup is done. So Saints TV Weekly will be out next week in the new studio. And then we've got the podcast Monday night with Joycey, tomorrow night actually, I keep forgetting it's Sunday night, and Marshy as well, and all the content leading up to the Hawthorn game on Saturday. So I'll leave it there, guys. Thanks again for watching. How do I rate Jess's driving out of 10? It's definitely an 11, absolutely an 11. She's elite behind the wheel. That's A-grade material in football terms. So on that note, I'll leave it there, Sainers. Thanks for watching. Again, special thanks to the awesome Sainers that turned up to the Bentley Social, to support the Bentley Social, to support the channel. Enjoy Joyce's singing before the game and at halftime, and then pumping the Saints song at the end. It was awesome vibes and great to be amongst. So thanks again for all of you guys for tuning out. But until then, take care, and I'll see you guys during the week for some more Saints TV content. Thanks, guys, and go you mighty Sainers. We're still alive. See you guys.